Hey, this is Greg with Greg's Organics in Grass Valley, California. And the purpose of this video is to show how I do my germination for my tomatoes. It's a frequently asked question, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. And it does not involve a hoop house, believe it or not. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Okay, so I use Peaceful Valley Organic. It's on my organic system plan and it's approved. It's a great potting soil for multi-purpose. The mycelium's in there. It's an awesome product. Okay, so this is how we roll. We just break this up. I sift it in my hands. These are 72 unit cells. I use 50 and 72s. And you know what? For the early season planting, I'm much more lenient towards the 50 cell. And then if you're planting in May and on, the 72 unit cells work. So this is what I do, is I just do the whole tray. And notice I'm not going back on it and compressing it. And I'll show you why that's important in a minute. Okay, you need to start this process, in my opinion, 7 to 8 weeks prior to when you want to put them in the ground. Okay, so that's what I do. And then with an empty one, I compress it. And you're looking for 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. And if you can see, that's absolutely perfect. All right. Okay, so we're back. We put the Peaceful Valley potting soil, organic potting soil down first. And now this is what I do. This is their other potting product called Organic Quick Root. And this is certified organic on my OSP2. Love this product. So what we do now is take this Quick Root product and make sure it's sifted quite well and put it on top and just gently fill it in. I don't really compress it that much, but I make sure it's full. And you know, a lot of people do their own custom blends of potting soils, and that's great. This one works amazingly well, and just can't say enough good things about it. So I just make sure that it's all in there compressed, kind of screed it off with my hand, and it always seems to be voids in the corner. So you want to always put a little more in the corner, is what I've learned. Okay. So now what you do is, one of my secrets is this, is you want to use warm tap water, and it could be as hot as 80, 85 degrees. And then what you want to do is just moisten the flat in like 3 series, because you don't want the water running out of here, because you want your seeds to get compressed in with the Quick Root and the potting soil. And this is really nice because then you don't have to do any transplanting. And whenever you transplant something, it seems to take a week to 2, depending on the stress levels, for that plant to adjust. So when you do it like this, you're not having to transplant stuff and do all that. And you really don't need to feed your plants for about, really when they're 3 to 4 weeks old. You would want to go with like 1/10 dilution of seaweed or multi-purpose fish or something like that. But I can't emphasize enough, you do not want to overdo it, because you'll burn them. They're super easy to burn. All right, so here we go. That's how you prepare a seed flat. And now I'm going to show you the processes. Okay, so this is my secret weapon. It's amazing what you can figure out of necessity, and this is what I came up with when I didn't have any money and I was trying to figure out to do the germination without heat mats. And here it is. It's just a standard. You can get this at any restaurant supply. You could even go taller with this if you needed to. And this is just a simple household oil thermostat heater. And it's on 600 watts on the #1 setting. So it's using as little wattage as possible on the almost the lowest setting, theoretically, on #1. And I do have a little thermometer right here, which I recommend having thermometers everywhere, because this is just the first journey in this flat to become a tomato plant, a high yielding one. And it really starts right here, how you germinate and when you germinate. The humidity levels all dictate your success. And there's a lot of, I'm going to give you all my little secrets where I've made mistakes and tips. Okay, so these flats, I got them adequately moist. So you want to make sure the water's running out of the bottom of them before you put them on your rack. And this bag, I used to get recycled mattress bags, but those are really hard to find. So you can go to U-Haul or any place and get a mattress bag, a moving mattress bag, and you should get the thickest one you can find. And definitely get the biggest one. I got a California King, and that's my little enclosure for my germination. And I keep it 80 to 85 degrees, which is right at the peak of the germination chart, because you get above that and you start falling off, and you get cooler than that, it starts falling off. So that's peak. And the one flat that's directly above, this will hold 14 standard flats, this particular setup. So that's like 100, okay, that's roughly 750 cell, and it's around 1,000 or so 72 unit cell flats. But the one that's directly above it, because I don't put one directly above it on the rack because it'll just dry out because of the radiant heat. You can put two on the side and then put one up here. And on the starting of the second day, you need to pull this one and the lower two out and water those in, because those are the only two that will need moisture. And believe it or not, this thing will crank out incredibly uniform germination in 3 days. That's unheard of. Okay, so this is where it starts. This is, in 3 days, stuff starts popping. You definitely want to make sure to pull this off the rack when it germinates, because there's no light and the plants will get really leggy. And now I'm going to show you their next stop. Okay, we're back. So after they've spent roughly 3.5 days on the rack, they come in this room, which is their second stop on the journey. And what we have here is we have Hydro Farm commercial heat mats. And I normally have the whole place lined with them. But again, if you do your job right on the rack, they're all up. And that is a Hydro Farm T5 4-foot 8-bulb grow light that is an amazing heater. And when I have this room closed up, that light will heat this room sufficiently. And yeah, so yeah, and those, I never really had heat mats before. And sometimes if I do have a few trays that are lagging, this is a great room to put them in with the light and the heat, and then they always pop up by the morning of the 4th day. And yeah, and you know, by far, that's the only way to do it, in my opinion. And I just started using a heat mat last year, if you can believe that. So, yeah, so this is stop number 1 after the rack inside. And I'll show you the next spot that they go to roughly after they're 2 to 3 weeks old. Okay. Their next stop is right here. Yeah, so I don't know how many square feet this is or how many plants are in here, but the answer would be a lot. There's a dehumidifier I use sometimes when it's really wet in here. There's a little oscillating fan there, and notice that those stems are getting a nice little workout right there. And notice the more mature plants are right near the door here. And then I have another fan running here. So you notice they're always getting their stems worked out. And I have those on timers, and it runs around the clock. And the temperature in here runs roughly 50 to 80 degrees, depending on the ambient temperature. Okay, so the plants go from the grow room that you saw previously to this one. And what I do here is this. I want to simulate nature here. So that's why you have the fans to strengthen the stems and get the airflow and just get them used to outside. But I'll tell you, when the weather is 40 to 45 degrees at night, I will leave the more mature plants that are right here outside. And I'll start to harden those off from about 4 weeks old. So they go in and out of here to the outside depending on the temperature. And then when it rains and it's cool, they have a nice environment here with some light. And do you know what another thing is that I do run these 24 hours a day, the lights. Yeah, I find that works best. If you wanted to save a little energy, you could probably turn it off for 4 to 6 hours. But yeah, so before they come in here, what I do is I inoculate with mycelium that I get from myfungi.com, and it's Micro Grow. Grow, and it's for vegetables. It's certified organic. And then I just noticed in their new catalog they have one for seeds starts as well. But I'll inoculate these plants when they're 7 days old, 7 to 10 days, and that way you know that they've got that mycelium working for them. And what I have here is that light is a 6 bulb T5 4-footer, and that's an 8 bulb 4-foot T5. And those are both Hydro Farm. I find that their products are by far the best quality. And yeah, so that's how I do it. And doesn't involve any greenhouse. And I definitely harden them off much sooner. I think it helps the plants. And the easiest way to screw up is to overwater these and get a damp soil condition where you get a fungi growing, or they just get so wet that the stems are waterlogged and they damp off. So that's fungus and moisture. So you really have to manage your moisture really well in here. You do want them to slightly dry out and then keep them moist. When they're in this stage here, 2 to 3 weeks old, you want to keep more consistent moisture. When they get bigger over here and 4 weeks older, I'll let them dry out, and I'll do like 24 hours watering. So that's how we do it, and hopefully that helps you with your starts. Because really, if you don't have healthy starts, you really won't have good success. So very important to get this stage of the game dialed and ready for spring planting. Happy growing.